When you're in your dark feminine energy, you would feel very much in control of yourself, and you would find it less of a challenge accepting your flaws. Now, if you pay close attention to women who are in their dark feminine energy, you would see how grounded they are. I believe Queen Cleopatra was very much in her dark feminine energy, and we can learn from her 7 ways to exude this energy. This woman existed hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We still refer to her today. One of the reasons is she gave herself permission to be her own kind. Queen Cleopatra was pharaoh in a time where it wasn't such a norm for women to be kings or queens, and she delivered to the best of her ability. When you're in your dark feminine energy, you're authentic, you're true to yourself. You only strive to be the best version of yourself. She knew exactly what she wanted and she followed suit. She wasn't thinking of what will society say, what will people say. Egypt was a priority to her. She was a priority to herself. She had a lot of people who did not like her, but regardless, she went ahead to be Queen Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt. One thing I love about Queen Cleopatra is the fact that she took her chances. She became pharaoh when Egypt's economy wasn't good, and she was not afraid to take on that responsibility. When she was thinking about how to protect Egypt, she didn't just go to any random leader. She went to people like Julius Caesar, unafraid. She knew that she could do it. That is something about a woman who is in a dark feminine energy. She is strategic. Queen Cleopatra wasn't frivolous. She wasn't thinking about the little things. She was thinking ahead. What can I do right now to put me in the right place? What can I do right now that my generation would thank me for, that my country would not forget me for? She checked all of these things and she saw what was important to her and then went for it. Now, I love the fact that she was also proactive. When Julius Caesar died, she fled. She was not at that point thinking of how do I remain in this country? Oh, my life is over. She was thinking, okay, what is my next move? If this has failed, what next? What can I do? This woman learned 7 languages, including the language of the Egyptians. Why this is very important is because most people who were pharaohs before her, especially from the Ptolemy dynasty, which is the one she's from, they didn't even bother to learn or to speak the Egyptian language. Now, when she did that, Egyptians felt that this woman is a part of us. You know, there's something about speaking the same language. Let me give you an analogy. When you meet somebody who speaks French, if you're from a French speaking country, and meet someone at that same time who speaks Spanish, who would you most likely get close to? Of course, the person who speaks French. There's something about speaking the same language with people. It brings you closer, and that's a very strategic skill. This woman went for knowledge that men will usually go after. At that time, women were just about raising their children, keeping the home, and which of course is such a thing today, but they wouldn't go out of their way to acquire knowledge. One beautiful thing she did for Egypt, she was able to learn about tax, and that really transformed their economy. As a strategic woman, it's important for you to learn, even if it's a little, about skills that could help you transform your life and other people around you. That is how you exude that dark feminine energy. When you read about the story of Cleopatra, it's just so painful that people who have written about her, especially in the past, did not do justice to her story. When you hear of Cleopatra, it was never really about her. And when I was doing my research for this video, I came across some of these materials. One of it was a documentary I had watched about her. Before then, I had watched other documentary, but I just felt that this guy did justice to her story. It wasn't the usual Cleopatra, the lover of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and how they paint her as an evil person. In case you want to watch her documentary, I would link it in the description box. Another thing was the book Cleopatra, A Life. I love how these people are now telling her story. So if you want to read this book, or if you want to listen to the audio version of it, check my description box. You would find a link there. Another thing with Cleopatra is that she understood timing. When her father died, she knew that it was time for her to take up the responsibility of becoming pharaoh. Now you might say that she had a brother who was going to be king next in line. Yes, he was really young at that time, about 11 years old. And an 11 years old boy can be influenced by the people around him. She knew that she had to step up. I know a lot of people see it as greed because they felt that she took over from someone who was supposed to be king, but that boy was 11 years old at that time and she needed to step up. I believe that if she did not do that, those people around him would have taken over the throne. He would just be the head figure, and then they would be the ones who are actually ruling Egypt. When she was sent away from Egypt and she had to lay low for a while, she didn't just forget her dreams. What she did was that she waited for the perfect timing. She heard that Julius Caesar wanted the same thing as she wanted, and then she went ahead to meet Julius Caesar. When Mark Antony had sent for her after Julius Caesar had died, she didn't go immediately, she delayed. If she had gone immediately, it wouldn't have worked in her favor, and that ended up working for her. When she showed up, of course, she didn't just show up like any other woman. She came representing, she came through. Cleopatra studied about alchemy, money, history, amongst other things. She learned several languages and it was to her advantage because I believe when she went to a country and they spoke a certain language, she would use that language to communicate with them, and this would help with the relationship she built with those people. Of course, that's how it works. Now, this is a very brilliant mind. Cleopatra was not afraid to take over an unstable economy. Not a lot of people would be fearless enough. And this woman was unafraid. She took it up and she knew that she could do something, regardless of how it was going to turn out. Sometimes you might think that you could transform something and it might not turn out the way you want it to, but don't let that fear deprive you of it. And that was something that she actually understood. She was confident enough to embody, and not just embody, to also claim the goddess Isis. Now, it's one thing for you to embody a goddess or a queen, but it's another thing for you to actually say you are the physical version of that thing. And this woman had the nerves to go ahead and do that because she had embodied it. So it was easy for her to call herself that and for people to believe. She didn't just let fear of failure overcome her. She tried again. When she was exiled, she tried coming back for the throne. Yes, she was defeated. She went back. A lot of people, after their first trial or their first defeat, if things don't go well, it's very easy for them to withdraw and say, okay, this is it, maybe this is a sign. Sometimes you need to keep going. And you see, because she had that will, she was able to meet up with Julius Caesar and they came up with a brilliant idea and she took over Egypt back. You cannot talk about Cleopatra without talking about this dark feminine energy. She knew what worked for each person she was approaching. If you're trying to charm someone, if you're trying to seduce someone, it's not just enough for you to say you have everything it takes. It's also good for you to do your research when you're trying to get something. Try to understand this person you're trying to seduce. What do they like? What repels them? I believe she did that with Julius Caesar. Look at the way she showed up, and the man was blown away. That alone seduced him. Then every other, feminine aspect of her, then she was able to lay them one after the other. But the first thing really mattered. Look at Mark Antony. She showed up looking like a goddess. I believe she would have thought that this man must have seen a lot of women in his life. So how do I come in looking like a different woman? She would have asked her questions. And then when she showed up, she really came through. She won the heart of Egypt. How did she do that? Aside the fact that she was able to help them boost their economy, this woman studied and spoke their language. That made them feel like they were wanted. That made them feel like she really was a part of them. Now she knew that these people love this goddess so much, the goddess Isis, and it was something for them. So when she embodied and said, "This is who I am," they felt like she was a part of them. Queens, goddesses, if you haven't subscribed, you and I can tell you want to hit on that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit on it, share, like, and comment as well. If you had the opportunity to meet or to have a conversation with any goddess or queen from the past, who will it be and why? Cleopatra was a passionate person. She fought for a cause. She knew what she wanted. She wanted to boost Egypt's economy and she wanted to keep her children in line. She was thinking of the big things and thinking ahead. This woman actively worked and stayed on this goal until she died. Whatever you think is your goal or whatever it is you're passionate about, you have to actively work on it. You cannot be here today and tomorrow we can't find you here. Tomorrow it's a different thing. Work on this one first, and when it has started yielding results, you can move on to other things. Look around you, those women that you see that are in their dark feminine energy, you would see this about them. They are passionate about something, even if it's impacting lives. Whatever their cause is, you will see how passionate they are about it, regardless of what people think, regardless of what the internet is saying. Even if the internet is blowing up and calling them names, this is what they stand by, this is what they are going for, this is what they are going to do. One other thing I love about the Queen Cleopatra is the fact that she was creative. And when you're in your dark feminine energy, you tend to be very creative. Like, you're very expressive. You're not ashamed of creating something. You're not held back. Imagine the monument she did for the Egyptians. Those things made them fall in love with her. Whatever it is your hands find doing, do it without being held back. Allow that creativity flow through you. That is a way to be in your dark feminine energy. Queen Cleopatra was fierce. This woman was committed, she was intelligent, she thought about community. She wasn't just thinking about finding her own way. It wasn't just about her, even though she was also important. And that is something you should also know. You are important. It's about you and about other things. Like, for her, it was also about creating a path for others. She was thinking about how her children will also become pharaohs of Egypt. It wasn't just, oh, I want to be pharaoh and then it ends with me. She wasn't thinking of, oh, how do I fall in love with this person who is not in love with me? All of those things, okay, let me not go there. But she wasn't thinking of the little things, she was thinking ahead. Now, I know this video is triggering a lot of people. I did it to trigger you so that you become better, so that when you step into your dark feminine energy, at the end of the day, you also benefit from it. She wasn't just thinking about creating a path for others, also, she was solution minded. When something failed, she was looking ahead. What is the next thing? What can I do? Because she believed that there was something she could always do to help change what the situation of things were. Queens, goddesses, stepping into your dark feminine energy is so empowering. But at the end of the day, not every woman will. But the question is, will you? Let me know in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, hit on that subscribe button, like this video, share it with people you think would benefit from it, and also comment. Remember the question I had asked earlier: if you had the opportunity to have a conversation with any queen or goddess from the past, who will it be and why? So see you in my next video, which is this one.